It's very hard to want to be physical,
Yeah.
physically intimate and emotionally intimate, to reach out to someone or to even respond emotionally. You're not, when everything else is changing with you, physically and mentally and emotionally, you're not always in a place where you can receive that or give that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge for men to understand that intimacy is going to change. And it's down to the couple to really renegotiate their relationship. And this is happening to me. This is something that I can't cope. I can't change. I can't fix. So what am I supposed to do? I was stuck because men fix things. They
Yeah.
come to things with a solution, and you can't fix something that isn't broken. Your partner isn't broken. So sit and listen actively. Don't just wait for your turn to talk, but actually really listen to what your
Listen.
partner is saying. And this goes both ways. Both partners need to
Yeah.
do this listening piece.
Mais play e menos pausa.
Hello, hello, hello. Today, conversation is a little different. Today, we're talking about menopause from a different perspective. Here with me is a man who has dedicated his work to helping other men better understand menopause. Please welcome Simon Salt. Hi, Simon.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Really, thank you to accept my invite. I'm very glad you're here to share your story. It's when I found you on LinkedIn, I said, "Oh my God, a man talking about menopause." And this is wonderful because a lot of relationships are just broken because it's not lack of love, it's lack of understand
Yeah.
what is happening. And I really want to know about your story. Please, the stage is yours.
Okay. So my story starts 8 years ago when my wife went into perimenopause,
Yeah.
and she was dismissed by 4 different doctors over a period of 4 years, telling her it was aging, it was yeast infections, it was UTIs, it was everything except perimenopause.
A year.
So so for 4 years we struggled. We didn't know what was going on. 4 years I struggled because I could see the changes happening in our relationship.
Yeah.
And it wasn't her, because that's what the doctors said. Her
Yeah.
labs were normal. Nothing wrong with her. There's only 2 people in the relationship. So if it's not her, it must be me.
Yeah.
And it must be something
Exactly.
I'm doing or not doing, something I'm saying or not saying that is causing our relationship to change.
Yes.
And
And it's
so that was
happened
very
with a lot
difficult.
of couples. Please
Yes,
continue.
it does. Yeah, it does. It happens to a lot of men. We personalize and internalize our feelings. We personalize what's happening to the relationship. Society centers men, so men are brought up to be the middle of everything, and women are taught to order them.
Yeah.
And so when we come to a situation where there's change, men often put themselves at the middle
Yeah.
instead of actually stepping back and looking at the bigger picture and looking at what's going on in reality, what's happening to both partners.
Yeah.
And that's definitely where I was. I was very much, this is happening to me. This is something that I can't cope. I can't change. I can't fix. So what am I supposed to do? I was stuck because men fix things. They
Yeah.
come to things with a solution, and you can't fix something that isn't broken. Your partner isn't broken.
Yeah.
And the menopause transition doesn't have a nice, neat solution. So men are stuck, and I was definitely very stuck. Finally, in the 5th year, she found a doctor who simply said, "Oh, yeah, this is perimenopause. Absolutely. This is what's going through. Let's look at what are some options for you."
Oh.
She was very fortunate in that MHT or HRT is a choice for her. It's actually
Okay.
medically okay for her. It's financially something we can afford, and it's available. So, we're very privileged, and we recognize that privilege, that is not something that is available for every woman. Not every woman can take it for
Yeah.
medical reasons. Not every woman can afford it.
It's
Not every
afforded.
woman, it's available to them.
Yeah,
Um,
the HRT is expensive in US.
it can be very expensive,
Yeah,
especially if the person doesn't have health insurance or doesn't have good health insurance. It can be
yeah.
very, very expensive to pay for it out of pocket. $200-300 a month, not uncommon.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa. Here in
yeah,
Brazil, it's also expensive, but it's not like this. But I know that there are new things coming, and they are very expensive for hot flashes and insomnia.
hmm,
But they are very expensive, and they are new. I think it's from Bayer.
yes,
The
hmm,
and here in US, I saw it's $600, and here
yeah,
in Brazil, probably it's gonna cost a little bit more, I guess. And
right.
we are fighting for the public system can give those medications to people that can afford for it, and we are fighting for it. But please continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, so, she was lucky in that the doctor was able to prescribe something to help her. Initially, it was just estrogen. Then they added testosterone, finally added progesterone.
Progesterone,
And so she's
okay.
on a mix of medications,
Yeah.
which have really, really helped her. She's been
Oh,
very
that's
fortunate.
good.
Yeah, she had a very good response to it. But it still took me another 18 months after she had found this doctor to really understand what was going on, what was
Yeah.
happening in our relationship, what was happening to her, and what that meant for me.
Yeah.
Obviously things like intimacy changes, and not just physical intimacy, but emotional intimacy.
Emotionally, what kind of symptoms affects you more
So
in
I
this?
think it, for a lot of women, it's very hard to be emotionally connected with someone when you've got this amazing change that's going on in your body. It's very hard to want to be physical,
Yeah.
uh, physically intimate and emotionally intimate, to reach out to someone or to even respond emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, when everything else is changing with you, physically and mentally and emotionally, you're not always in a place where you can receive that or give that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge for men to understand that intimacy is going to change. And it's down to the couple to really renegotiate their relationship and decide what their new relationship looks like, because it is going to be a new relationship. And,
Yeah.
we know perimenopause doesn't last a week or two. It's not a month. It's anywhere from 4 or 5 years to 10 or 12 years. So this is not a short term fix. This is something that you're going to have to renegotiate time and time again as you evolve. And
Yeah.
hopefully, you have a healthy relationship, and it's been evolving throughout your relationship. It stays in that honeymoon phase forever. You move through it. You evolve together, and this is now a new life stage. And I think once couples start to see that it's a life stage, not something that's happening to her, but it's something
Okay.
to experience, I think that makes it a lot easier, and you get on board, and you're both on the same team. You stop trying to score points. You,
Did you try some kind of how to say psychologist? Is there exists something like this in the
so
US for
there are
couples?
Yeah, there are therapists that specialize in menopause transition, or at least specialize in sexual health and
Mm-hmm.
education.
Okay.
I personally uh, have been in therapy a long time, a lot of my adult life. So I was able to um, work through some of the issues I was facing with my therapist. So that helped me a lot in terms of being able to better relate to my wife. But what
Yeah.
helped most was when I started to research it for myself,
Yeah.
started to really read what was happening with her, what was happening to her, and what she was experiencing, and then being able to ask the right questions.
Yeah. And
Because it's one thing to read about these things, like, okay, so I've read about a hot flash, and I might understand the biology behind a hot flash.
yeah.
But if I don't understand how that impacts my wife, then I don't really understand a hot flash.
And is she used to talk to you to try to explain what she was feeling at the time?
Yes, and when she first started to do that, I was just still confused because I didn't have a basis of information
Yeah.
from which to understand what she was saying. She would say, I'm having a hot flash. Okay. What's that mean? What's that
What's
mean
that
for
mean?
me?
Exactly.
What am I supposed to do about that? Because again, men want to fix things, especially when they see their partners suffering. They
Yeah.
want to do something about that. That's part of being in a relationship. You don't want to see your partner suffer. You want to do something to aid them. And, it takes a while to come to terms with, the last thing your partner wants when they're having a hot flash is a hug.
Yeah. That's
That's,
true.
that's not what they need right there in the minute.
The last thing we need is this. Oh, please stay away from me.
Right, exactly. And so there's that distancing. Oh, she's pulling back from me. So again, what does that mean? What does that mean in the relationship? What does that mean for me? She needs time and space.
Yeah, you
Does
start
that mean
to.
something wrong with our relationship? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of communication. But I think in terms of education, and I think the big thing that men have to recognize is their partners are at a stage in their life where they are what we refer to as unmasking. They've masked, they've pretended, they've cared for everybody
Yeah.
all the time. And now they're getting to a point in their life where their hormones are changing, and that has a direct impact on their brain. And they get to a point where they're no longer prepared to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they don't have the capacity for is to continue to educate their partner about what's happening to them. And it's not going to. They can guide them and say, hey, I read this. Reading this might help you. Men need to then go read that and then look for more.
Yeah.
Themselves.
Yeah. And and then after this experience, you decided to change everything in your life and start to talk about it. You used to work with technical, how to say in English?
Digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing, and then you decided to change everything and start to talk about menopause. How
Yeah.
was this decision happen?
So about a year ago, I decided, I said to my wife, I think I want to write a book about this. I've written 3 other books, so I know what's involved in writing a book.
Mhm.
Um, and so I
A
started
book
to really,
about marketing, right? You have
no,
books,
I've written, yeah, three books
three
about
books
marketing.
about
Yes.
marketing. Yeah,
And so I decided that I didn't want other men to go through what I've been through.
I understand.
I wanted other men to have an easier path. And I wanted other relationships to be easier for the couples, for women to recognize that this is a big impact on their partner. Their partner is going to struggle
Yeah,
to understand and to cope. And with encouragement, you can come together as a couple and face this together. You don't have to face this as two separate people.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's why I started writing. January, I started writing on Substack,
Yeah,
and
Substack is a place like how to say, I don't know if there is in all
newsletter.
over the world.
Yes, it's a global platform for newsletters. So I
Okay,
publish a newsletter once a week. Um,
okay.
Primarily, it's written so that men will get a better insight. But at the moment, I would say about 80% of my subscribers, so 80% of the people who receive that newsletter, are women who then pass it on to men.
Yeah, because sometimes I think men don't want to I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But I felt like men try to put a veil to don't watch what was going on. Sometimes they just run away. They quit because they cannot understand and because of this need of fix everything, I
Hmm.
think,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
this
very much
is
so. I think absolutely. That's very true of a lot of men. They get triggered into a fight or flight mode where they either shut down or they don't want to be part of the conversation,
yeah,
because they are triggered by this change that's happening in their relationship. And that triggers this fight or flight response, whether they retreat from the relationship or whether they just put up a wall
yeah,
in defense as they're part of their fight response. And that's very true. That, a lot of men will experience that. And that's where this, encouraging men to do the research, do the reading, listen to
yeah,
podcasts, watch videos, and absorb this information so that they don't get triggered,
yeah,
so that they can see this is not a threat to them. And I think that's a big problem. We have to get men past that response of this is a threat to my relationship. My relationship is ending.
yeah,
Relationship, I think it's changing, it's evolving.
yeah. Do you see any kind of difference? You are from UK, right?
Hmm.
You are from
Yeah.
UK, and now you are living in the US.
Yes.
Uh, do you see any kind of any difference between men in UK and men in US uh, in this menopause situation?
Yeah. So the UK is very much ahead of the US in
Yeah.
terms of education, um, both personal education and in the workplace. And they have a lot of, there's a lot of conversations happening there where men can't help but encounter this conversation.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. In the US, we're getting better. The conversation is happening. It's not happening everywhere. So men aren't encountering this in the workplace. They aren't necessarily encountering it in their social media feeds. They're certainly not encountering it in the conversations with other men. So that's part of the work, is really normalizing that conversation and
Yes.
having this opportunity for men to actually join the conversation. Because at the moment it is, and rightly so, it is a female centered conversation. And, obviously that's how it should be. And into the conversation so
Uh-huh.
that they're not outside looking in, but they're actually taking part in these conversations.
Yeah, and here in Brazil, I think this we have. I was talking about it yesterday. All women here, celebrities, and
Hmm.
everywhere, we are like, oh no, 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 it's not gonna happen with us. Enough of taboos, and we
Yeah.
started to talk about it on the internet, like crazy, and
Hmm.
the things started to change in the workplace, in everywhere. Things are changing now. I would like to talk a little bit more about the quiet transition.
Hmm.
What does that mean? Why you used to use this term,
Hmm.
the quiet transition? I think it's very, very profound, very.
Thank you. So I chose the name because although at times it can be very explosive, it's something that happens over a long period of time and involves a lot of change. So that was in part why I chose the name, The Quiet Transition, because it does happen quietly. It happens within a relationship. And then the other reason was it is still a quiet transition. Not enough people are talking about it. Not enough people are aware of it. And it's hushed up. Like a lot of women's health things are, it's put
Mhm.
off to one side
Yeah.
for women to deal with, and society isn't involved with it. As you said, it is getting better. More celebrities are getting involved. Here in the US, we have people like Oprah and Halle Berry and people like that, superstars who are talking about it,
About it.
but it's still not reaching a lot of women. So I read a study recently where they surveyed women or menopausal age in that 45 to 60 age group. And 54% of the women said they didn't know or were not in perimenopause. And yet they
Oh,
all identified at least 3 symptoms of perimenopause that they were experiencing. So they were having the symptoms, but they
yeah.
didn't
They
recognize that it was perimenopause that they were experiencing.
perimenopause. It happens a lot, especially with perimenopause. I didn't
Yeah.
recognize the symptoms when I was with menopause because I was with Mirena. I used Mirena IUD at the time. I was using Mirena IUD, and I didn't get my periods, so I didn't know what was going on. We were in
Mhm.
the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, and I was not doing my tests. I just I didn't recognize it. I thought I was losing my mind, literally. I went to psychiatrist and I said, "Oh my God, what was going on?" And it happens with a lot of women, still happen. And
Mhm.
I think your voice here, all the voices that are trying to change this situation, it's very important to achieve those women that don't know what to do, don't cannot recognize, right?
Yeah.
And your book is available on Substack, right?
Yeah, so I write on Substack. The book won't be out for till next year itself, but I write every week on Substack, and that's
Okay.
at thequiеттransition.com. That's where my Substack is. And I produce a newsletter every week. Covers a range of topics.
Hmm.
For example, this week was about the fact that doctors, the majority of doctors in the US are not trained to
Yeah,
deal with women in
really.
menopause.
Yeah, this is
Um,
global. This
yeah,
is
so
global.
if they're not trained, then what hope is there for women
Yeah,
getting answers? And even
yeah.
less hope for men, because if their partner isn't getting answers, they're certainly not getting
Okay,
answers.
answers?
So you've
Yeah,
got two people who are very confused
yeah.
and having this experience from two very different perspectives. And that's a very challenging time for couples. And unfortunately, not every couple survives that. Um, you know,
Unfortunately.
perimenopause doesn't cause breaks in relationships, but it can reveal them. And that can be a challenge as well. So you're challenged in a number of ways within a relationship.
And how men respond to your book, your Substack, how they respond to that?
Very well. A lot of men feel seen. Um, they recognize themselves in the writing when I'm writing from a personal perspective, because
Hmm.
I also write about my own journey. And then the information that I provide gives them insight into what's happening in their relationship. So, yeah, a lot of men do find it very helpful. And as I say, a lot of women find it helpful because it gives them the opportunity to start a conversation with their male
Yes.
partner. Um, and it gives them material to be able to say, hey, read this. This might help.
Yeah, perfect. And your book, is it available only in English or?
The book isn't out yet. The book won't be out until next year. So it'll initially be in English, but hopefully it will get translated.
Yeah, well, but do you recommend it AI to translate them? And
I don't know what publishers do because my book will come out through a publisher. And I don't know how publishers are handling AI for translation at the moment. My Substack is only in English.
only in English. It doesn't
Yeah,
have any kind of translation.
no, Substack doesn't do translations. So you either write in English or you write in your other native language. You can't kind of switch backwards and forwards.
But maybe you can just copy and paste in for Brazilian man to try to understand a little about your work.
Mhm.
Because I think it's so important. A man giving voice for this topic. I think it's maybe it can break some
Those
prejudice,
barriers. Yeah.
barriers.
Yeah.
It's better.
Mm.
Is there anything that you would like to say to all the men that are watching us now?
Mhm. So I have a 3-step plan that men can follow. And it's very,
Yeah,
very simple. The first is sit. And by that, I mean find time that is away from everything else, where it's just you and your partner. No children, no chores, not over dinner, just you and your partner, and make it a set amount of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Something that you are both comfortable with. We're going to sit down for 5 minutes. We're going to sit down for 10 minutes.
yeah,
Set aside that time. The second is listen. So sit and listen actively. Don't just wait for your turn to talk, but actually really listen to what your
listen.
partner is saying. And this goes both ways. Both partners need to
Yeah,
do this. This listening piece. And then the last piece is believe. And you can do all the research. You can read all the blogs. You can read my newsletter. You can read pamphlets from the doctor's office. You can watch the latest TikTok influencer. But ultimately, where you're going to get the most information is from the woman in front of you. So believe what she says. So it doesn't matter that you've heard that hot flashes happen at 3 a.m. If her hot flashes happen at 10 in the morning, that's when hot flashes happen. And so believe what she's telling you, how she's experiencing this transition, because that's where you're going to get your information from. So what it comes back to is you do this research, you read up, which is great. And then you can sit down and do this sit, listen, believe, because you can ask questions then.
yeah.
So I've heard about hot flashes. How do you experience them? That gives your partner an opportunity to open up and give you some insight and invite you in. And now you're having a conversation that both of you understand.
Wow. I have no words to thank you for everything that you are doing for us. Uh, this is it. It's more about us and see your work. Now I'm getting emotion. Oh my god, it's very really. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm speechless. Thank you very much, Simon, for this conversation, for your time, and I hope a lot of men can hear you and inspire and be inspired by you, and that we can save a lot of relationships. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Oh,
Thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you for having me.
And for you that are watching us now, I want to thank you. And I also ask you to subscribe, like, and share. And please share this video because it is something that the world must hear. And I want to thank you. And I see you in the next episode. The last tip of the day. Are you going through menopause? Man or woman? So, more play and less pause. See you soon.
Mais play e menos pausa.